I'm a teacher librarian, as I said, and you all know the teacher librarian stereotype, right? The bun and the reading glasses, which I am going to sport those. Life got much easier when I embraced reading glasses and cardigans and all that. But yeah, I love cardigans. But we're much more than that. This is the vision for Iowa school libraries, and that we made. I'm on the IASL board for school librarians in Iowa. And this is actually what the text of this isn't from us, though. It's from the Department of Education. And so they know that teacher librarians can be much more than their stereotype and can really be the heart of the school. And so a lot of times when we talk about makerspaces, it's in libraries, and it's librarians who are doing it. And that's great. And I hope that you have a librarian who can embrace the maker movement. If you don't, certainly it happens without that. Independently it happens as well. But the librarian would be a great place to start. So, let me see. I wrote all these notes this morning. So I'd heard about makerspaces for a long time. It's been in the librarian literature and all of that, and the conferences I'd go to. I'd heard about it. And I wanted to do it, and I have a really good relationship with my superintendent. I've talked to him about it, and it was always something they were interested in, but I didn't really feel like I was getting a push behind me to do this. I didn't feel like I really had permission for it. Well, so then last fall, Eric, I'm not going to say his name right, the keynote today, Schendinger, right? He came to Iowa, and so a lot of my teachers went, and my superintendent and principals both went. And then they come back, and my superintendent's like, Christine, have you heard about this thing called a makerspace? I'm like, yeah, Mark, I've been talking to you about it for 3 years. And he's like, oh, well, we should do that. And then they kind of wanted it done yesterday. And so got really working on it last fall, and coming to fruition this past spring. So this is a video that we're going to listen to. Commercial, why is it not doing sound? Oh, because I turned it off. Because I had
convert an ordinary tool shed into
video to test it before.
Boring. We'll talk to the kids at a New Jersey high school.
Cindy, she takes us to New Milford to find out what all the buzz is all about.
Welcome to the library at New Milford High School, where there's a lot more than books. This is a brand new makerspace, and we do mean make. Kyle Henry is using a 3D printer to make a phone case. He designed it on the computer, then printed out. He made this black one the other day.
You can change the color. You have blue, black, white, red, green, and basically comes out of a phone case in an hour or two.
Other students are creating video game controllers out of anything, even fruit. Tristan Tiang said, let me play along. I never played a video game with fruit.
It's a very interesting game. I think we broke it.
Students can visit the makerspace anytime they want. Pamela Yashu built her own computer last month and loves taking them apart in the take-apart station.
This is a motherboard. Everything connects to this. This is a CPU. Does calculations for the computer. This is a heatsink, which cools up the CPU.
And the list goes on. The Makerspace was created this school year by Laura Fleming, who runs the library, and says it's all about making learning fun and inspiring innovation.
I've had kids go home and learn about things that they started in our makerspace, and to me that's a teacher's dream.
And it has students dreaming big.
Now I want to do biomedical engineering, so hopefully I'll get into that.
And Makerspace has helped you feel that way?
Yeah, it has a lot. This shows us all the different ways to build things, and it takes you through step by step.
Well, the students love the Makerspace, and next year it's going to look completely different. They want to keep changing it up to keep it new and relevant. In New Milford, New Jersey, Cindy Hsu, CBS 2 News.
As far as cost, Fleming says you can create a makerspace on any budget. Cost her school about $1,500, and she saved money by getting many of those things donated. But that is just, stimulating young minds.
Yes, and so that was kind of, that's the sort of news that I had heard about. And then when we started researching and finding out, that's kind of what we were looking for. So then this spring, we applied for the ITEC grant, and I was one of 3 recipients for that. And the ITEC grant was specifically to build a makerspace in our elementary school. And since that time, we have built that, and we built one at the high school as well. And so as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, please, seriously, because I want to quit saying this if this is not true, but I think I'm the only school in the state doing K-12 standalone makerspaces in all sites. So, which I only have 2 buildings, so I suppose that's. Many of you have a lot more than that. So that was pretty exciting. So when I actually was a non-traditional student. I went to college right out of high school, and I was at the University of Iowa, and I was going to be editor of the New York Times. And then I got married and had kids and all that. And so I went back to school. I'm starting my 5th year as a teacher, librarian. And so, but back when I wanted to be editor of the New York Times, you know, the 5 W's and all of that in journalism. So that's how I've modeled my work here. So who are makers? Who do you see in your school that are makers, that are doing this sort of thing? I see, and I haven't really defined what making is. I have the next one says, makers are people who create things instead of consume them. We have making that happens in our school all over. And I was very careful to make sure I let that statement be said, especially at the high school level, because we have a CNC machine, we have 3D printers, we have cooking going on, we have art happening and crafts and that sort of thing. We're making going all over. So why would we want to put them in one spot? What is the point of that? And there's been people who they wonder about that. But for instance, my daughter happened to be in a class of mine that she read a book, and she had to independent reading class, and she had to do a project on it. So she was doing World War Z, right? And she wanted to make a puppet show for it. But she's a sophomore that year, and so she didn't want to just make paper bag puppet or a sock puppet. She found on YouTube, and she found how to make Muppets, and so it was like $60 in supplies as a parent that I bought. We weren't buying them as a teacher, but and so, you know, of course I want you to know that I am a woman who has a sewing machine, right? The type of woman who has a sewing machine. But I'm also the type of woman who doesn't know where her power cord was. So what was I going to do, right? So she goes to school, and the home ec teacher helps her out, and she's able to do it, and that's great. But what if they didn't get along, right? What if the schedules didn't mesh? What if the home ec teacher was just very territorial about her equipment for kids who weren't in her class? And those things happen. So let's have a spot in the school that has a sewing machine. Let's have a spot that has a soldering gun. Let's have a spot that has a 3D printer and a computer with Photoshop. We're a one-to-one school with Chromebooks, and so, you know, we have a computer lab with some good quality programs, but those aren't available to students. It's in a teacher's room. So those aren't available just to anyone. And so that was a big thing on for me, why we were doing the Makerspace. But anyway, you have to think about when you start a Makerspace, so makers are people who make things instead of just using them. Who can you get help from? I got a lot of help from Julie Graber from the AEA. She's been a great help. Actually, like a year ago, Scott McLeod and their team, they sent out an email to schools in our AEA and sent out the book by Gary Stager and Martinez to get us excited about making and all that. And so we really relied on them to help out. I certainly couldn't have gotten this grant without Julie. And I know that in like 267 that Beth Swans is doing some fantastic things. I talked to Amber Bridge yesterday with the AEA. She's doing a lot of stuff in Makerspace. So certainly reach out to your AEA people. This is that's my son on the right, and that's Tim Kreinbrink, our legislator, on the left. We had, as part of our Makerspace grant, we had a Makerspace kickoff at the elementary school where we had, it was a whole day event, and kids came in, and I mean, they had Makerspace and they had lunch, and that's what they had. They didn't even have recess. And we invited, you know, legislator there, and he came. So get the support from bigwig type people like that, and your school board and your superintendent. I'm not very good about taking pictures, and I have no pictures of my administration, but it kind of goes with that. High schoolers. So get as much help as you can from other students in your schools. So at the elementary, that was where the Makerspace was, and we had this Makerspace kickoff, and we had all these people come in, and the kids all participated. It was over 2 days. I had 40 high school students who came over and helped out with that. I could not have possibly done this event without them. And I don't really talk about that event more, so I'll do it here, but the kids went to different stations. It was coding, it was cardboard challenge, it was doing a roller coaster with toilet paper, marble run we call it. It was using little bits. We had Iowa State, the Flex Truck. You should all write that down if you don't know about it. Iowa State College of Design Flex Truck. They had a grant last year that they went around to different schools. I think their funding might have dried up a little bit, but they were still interested in going out to schools and bringing this truck there. And so they have little bits, and they have 3D printing, and they have virtual reality and all of that. What was kind of interesting with that was my kids, although it was really cool and kind of flashy and it got the kids excited, after the fact a lot of them were like, well, that was not real making. We didn't make anything with that. We consumed it. And it's kind of cool, but it kind of goes to that consumption, creation dichotomy. But yeah, my high school students, I couldn't have done it without them. This is at the high school then. High school is separate than the grant wasn't for high school, but there was a lot of push for that there too. And so that's my daughter, and then that's Jacob, who he is a purple ribbon winner today. He'll be here today. And they're on my Makerspace leadership team at the high school. We actually went to the school board and got official recognition as an organization so that we're able to fundraise. And that was very simple to do. They were excited about what we're doing, and that's very powerful as well. And so we're having our first, that just happened, we're having our first organizational meeting this week. That's Adam. He's actually, I run a personal learning class, Genius Hour, at the high school that's independent, and he took that in the spring to help build the Makerspace, and then he's taking it this semester too to get it really off the ground. And that's been a great leadership opportunity for him if you have any ability of that sort of thing. It was very nice at the high school to have a tall person who's invested in it. I have all these little kids at the elementary who love it and all that, but the teachers, although they like the Makerspace and they're supportive of it, it's very much kind of seen as my thing a bit. And so it's nice to be able to get buy-in from other people to help you out and have ideas to bounce off of, and he's been great for that. And then that's little Jake, and that is his mother has been a great help, and he's just been very engaged in the Makerspace. So who is this for? I thought I had those to bounce up. That's okay. So that's Jake. We had, as part of our grant, we have a parent night at the elementary school. And so we had our first one about 3 weeks ago, and he was the first one there and the last one to leave. And he brought his own tool set and all of this. And the thing is, I would never have known this about him. I never would have known that he spent his own money to buy a cordless drill that weekend so he could take apart stuff. And last year after the Makerspace kickoff days in library, I would ask the kids, now what kind of making do you do? What sort of things do you do? And I had a different student, a second grader, and he starts explaining to me how he makes art with metal, and he uses this thing that has fire and he makes it stick together. And I said, you weld? And he's like, yeah, that's what it's called. You weld. I mean, how do these aren't even questions you would know to ask children. But yeah, the kids can do remarkable making on their own. And that boy down there, the thing is, it's so funny at the, and then those were kids at our Makerspace Day as well, the night with the parents are doing some building. At the high school, the people who are the most engaged with the Makerspace are these junior high boys. They love the cricket. We have a cricket at both schools, which CRICUT, if you don't know it, it really, to me, I think it should be cricut, but whatever. And it's vinyl clings and paper and all this. And these kids, oh my gosh, they love it. They absolutely love it. These kids are going crazy for it. But the boys, they wanted to learn how to sew. And then they asked me, well, Mrs. Sturgeon, can you bring some needles? Because I'm really good at buying craft supplies personally, and so is my mother. And but I don't use very many of them, so we had a lot of donations that way from my mother and I, which included embroidery floss. And so these boys were like, well, we want to teach ourselves how to embroidery. Can you bring us some needles? And so that's kind of good where the, you know, I mean, yeah, where's my needles? That's the issue at home, because I would donate that. But the thing about having a fundraising arm with the high school group, so then I can just go to Walmart and buy some needles, and I don't have to do a whole PO process. You know, of course, have save receipts, but that's great too. So we, little Jake, I hope this is going to look right. What's it at? Did it do this?
Hey Jake, what you doing?
We did something a little bit.
Cool, you're here in the Makerspace?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the Makerspace?
I think it's fun.
MNW Elementary is bringing student passion and creation to the next level by building a makerspace. Our makerspace includes creating of all types, from poetry writing, origami making, and building with cardboard, to experimenting with electricity, tinkering with motherboards, and building robots. We encourage classroom teachers to bring their students in to use the tools here with their lessons and to meet academic standards. We encourage students to tinker independently or collaboratively on projects for their classes or just for fun. MNW Cougars, what will you make? I want to invite you to the Makerspace house here at the...
Okay. The point is, anybody know what this is? Oh man, it's my favorite video. And I'm not going to show it to you, but it's the dog, if you look up Dog of Wisdom, okay? And it's this, it went pretty viral. I did an awful screenshot there, but there's the link. And so it's this little dog, and he's just flying in his little plane, and he's like, arr, arr. And this is being taped while I'm doing this. This is great. And he says, you know, and he's like, he sees this other thing coming toward him in the sky, and he's like, oh, okay, well, he says, I'm just going to bark at nothing now. And I have a little wiener dog, so I find it especially funny. But so this other thing comes flying, and he's like, oh, who dares be in my space? Who dares do this, you know? And it's because it's all about him, you know? But anyway, I just had to, I know that's a stretch to do the Dog of Wisdom, but I had to try it. This is my favorite. All right, so what are you going to have in your makerspace? I mean, it's so funny because last year when, you know, when they said, hey, build a makerspace, Christine, we will give you all the support you want. What do you want? What are you going to get? What are you going to get? Give us a shopping list. You know, I've been thinking about it for a long time, but still it was like, you know, I know what it is and I want to do this, but what do I get? So when I found this list, Kristen Fontecchio from the University of Michigan Library School, if you Google School Dream Makerspace, it should come up. It's a PDF. This was like the turning point for me to find this and to be able to say, okay, here's a list. Here's some things. Now we don't have everything on there, but it really got me kind of thinking what the different areas are, what sort of things we can get in them. So that was so helpful to find that. And then specifically, these are the things I asked for on the grant. Now, if any of you have done grants before, you know, the ITEC grant changed because I helped a teacher get it in the past, and there had been, it was a certain amount of money at certain levels, and now it was a lot more wide open, which was much scarier because I didn't know how much I could ask for. So then when you win it, you're like, oh man, I should ask for more. But you know, it's okay, it's all good. They're very generous, and I'm thankful for them. So we got bake dues, which are little things. I just got them ordered because they were back ordered in the spring, and they arrived yesterday, so I don't exactly know how to explain them. But they're little contraptions that you use to put cardboard together. Now coming up on, I think it's November 3rd, is the Cardboard Challenge, the Worldwide Cardboard Challenge. And so that's a lot of, if you ever look at Kane's Arcade, C-A-I-N-E apostrophe S on YouTube, it's a very cool video to watch. Have any of you seen it? About this little boy who he makes these cardboard houses. He makes this cardboard store and pinball machine and these games and stuff. So it's pretty cool on that. And so Make-A-Do's, they kind of facilitate that a little easier. Duct tape, we did the marble run a couple weeks ago in the library for every month in the library classes, I have Makerspace Week. So all kids take part in Makerspace, whether their teachers bring them or not. So we did notebook checkout. It's like, we're doing Makerspace. So we did this marble run, and that used a lot of duct tape. So I'm kind of hoping that this will help me not spend so much money on duct tape. We got a Lego Mindstorm kit. We got some little bits, a lot bigger set than that, quite large. We got an Arduino and a book to go along with it because I really don't know what to do with it. Although I understand I can use it. Aaron Maurer is going to give me directions on how to do a pumpkin and make it open up with Arduino. And like, I got pumpkins in my garden, I can do that. And then a video camera because I do video production with kids.
How do you spell Arduino?
Arduino. And I don't know, somebody here probably could define it a lot better than me, but it's I think it's a type of motherboard, and you'll use it to facilitate technology. There you go. How vague can I be on that one? And you know, the thing is, actually, that's a good point, because I was going to say this with the dog wisdom. Where it's not about you is that, like yesterday, how many of you were at Aaron Maurer's double session about Makerspace? It was really good. And the thing is, that kind of, he brought this bucket. Each table had a bucket, and it had supplies in it from popsicle sticks and, you know, little fuzzy pom-poms and a Rubik's Cube and paper bags and rubber bands and all this. And he was like, make something for Halloween or for Thanksgiving or for fall, whatever, you know, make something. And that type of making like that, it's almost paralyzing to me. I'm like, okay, you guys, you do it. And my team did a great job. I don't even feel that I have the right to say I was on a team. I went and took a phone call and I went to an email and all this. And I'm like, it's just not. And I mean, I remember when I was at UNI and their 2+2 program, and we had a class as a cohort. And so the first class we had was something on campus, and we did something like that. We built bridges out of newspapers, right? And it's like, and I'm kind of hanging back, and these people don't know me, and that's a really bad time to do that. And then I felt I was really part of the group when I gave them as a librarian, you know, again, I was reading it was the New York Times, it was the New York Times review of books, and I felt I was really part of the team when I gave them that newspaper. I was like, here, you can use this for it. You know, that kind of making is so foreign to me, and I've kind of given up to try to make that be me. That is not me, that kind of making. I'm like, okay, you guys do a great job, that's great. But that doesn't mean I can't facilitate this. And now, I saw that, I'm like, man, this week I am buying tubs, I'm getting stuff like that for my kids, because they can go crazy with that, they can love that. And don't think you can't do Makerspace, because that's not you. You know, it's not me at all. I love outlines, I like textbooks, I like reading, that's all about me, I love outlines, man. And, but that's okay. I mean, I see the vision of it, even if I don't really take part in that part of it, my personal things. So where do you put the Makerspace? The AEA made very nice signs for me in my library, and that's the one from Makerspace. We had a room at the elementary that had been, it was supposed to be my office, half the room, and then half the room was the speech therapist. And but then I started doing video production a couple of years ago, and so I found a spot where the speech therapist could go that was better than that anyway. And so then that became my video space. And then that ended up not being a great space for that because classes were in there, it's kind of noisy. So we moved to them somewhere else, but then that space became the Makerspace. It's only about, I'm not very good with dimensions, I don't think it's any more than 200 square feet. Probably 100 square feet. But we have and again, I'm really bad at taking pictures, but the rooms, and then you can get your supplies and you take them out into the larger library space. We changed the library, transformed it, and it's quite open, which is good, but it does, we have to often say, no, we're in the library because it's so open and free. I'm like, I know it makes you want to go run and all that, but it's not the gym, so you can't do that. So I had an extra room on that at the elementary, and that's where the Makerspace is. And my principal he was like, well, I think we should use this room, and it's bigger and all this, and you know. The thing why libraries often are the places where Makerspace lands, I believe, is because then we can give supervision. Because I'm there, or my pair is there, somebody's there. At the high school, we had a room where the tag room was. It was within the library, and she got moved somewhere else, and that became the Makerspace. We were going to actually build a hole in the wall so that my pair could see from her desk, but instead, which was a much better idea, they put in a camera. And so she can just see from her desk what's going on. And so in the library, they do give, it does give some supervision. But look at the spaces you have and rethink your spaces. I had this book room, because this really couldn't have happened if I couldn't move the video stuff. But I had a book room, and it had these great movable shelves, you know, but then we had those big, huge brooding shelves in the space, and that's where the books were. And the movable shelves we didn't use for anything. We're like, okay, this is goofy. Why don't we put the books on those shelves and get those big ones out? And then that became my video space. So just rethink your space and look around what kind of room is available in your school. But the one thing that I am going to do at the elementary, because you know it's important to have buy-in from your staff, but it is about the kids. And at the high school, I knew I didn't really need the buy-in from the staff as much, honestly, because kids had study hall opposite PE. We have a 7th period, they can come down. Kids just have more free time at a secondary school, right? They do. And so I don't really so much need the teachers to be like, oh, I'm going to send my kids down for this project. I mean, that's great if they want to do that. But the kids, we probably get, my parents started to take notes, but we probably have 60 kids a week coming in and using the Makerspace. And that's really in usually just about 2 periods a day, because it's when the junior high has their study hall, and then 7th period. But at the elementary, it's been harder because kids don't have as much free time, right? And so you absolutely have to get buy-in from the staff. And the thing is, I have, as I said, the last week of the month is Makerspace week, and the kids come, the whole library class, and we're doing Makerspace. And that's kind of daunting. It's like, whoa, what are we going to do with 25 kids at a time? But that's what I'm asking the teachers to do, right? I'm like, oh, bring your kids down, use the Makerspace, it's great. And I'm asking them to do the same thing. And it's hard. And so one thing we are implementing at the elementary school, independent of the grant, is we're doing a Makerspace cart. So it'll have the materials like those straws and connectors, and it'll have make-dos, and it'll have scallops and cards and different things that we have around, and some crafty items. And so then they can just check out items and take them to their room instead of bringing their kids down. And that, I think, will get a lot more buy-in from them. So rethink your spaces for it. Why, I think, if you're all here, I think you kind of get the why, but the Makerspace Playbook from Make Magazine, your Makerspace should be conducive to inspiration, collaboration, and conversation. And that's absolutely true. And the thing is, especially at the high school, what we see is that it's the kids teaching each other. And we make a big point about that. It's not our job to teach you how to use all this stuff. You figure it out. Don't break anything. Tell us if something's absolutely, you just can't get it to work. And my para, she knows how to use the Cricut, and she helps them with that kind of thing. But it's a lot of, hey, go figure this out on your own. And that's, is really working well for that. So the next of the W's, no, I'm not answering that. My principal, I'm presenting this. Okay, so when can you do this? So I challenge you to think right now, talk to your neighbor, all of that. 3 things you can do to start on the maker movement, whether in the next or in the school year. Whether that is, you go visit I think it's called 511, the Makerspace here in Des Moines. Ames has one. I understand Davenport has a Makerspace. I did that. I went to the Makerspace in Ames and talked to the people and kind of got got a feel for what the maker movement was. Whether it's, subscribing to Make Magazine, kind of doing that. Whether it's talking to your administrators and saying, that would be a great thing, I think, saying, hey, I've heard about this, what do you think on that? So think of 3 things right now. I'm going to ask you to give me some examples, please. 3 things that you could do in the school year to get going on the Makerspace idea in your schools. What do you think? Yeah. See, did I ask anybody? Who has a Makerspace? I assumed if you have a Makerspace. I have a Makerspace. Where is that? Spencer? What do you
And I'm a very get started on the road to Makerspace. What do you have? What do you think? I have Tori up here is from Spencer, and they're starting a Makerspace. It's opening up pretty soon, but it's a private one in an industrial park. And that connection with businesses is huge. And actually Adam, that boy he took a class and he's helping me build the Makerspace at the high school. That's a big thing he wants to do, our Makerspace Club. We're going to go out and we're going to talk to the industries and tell them about